Today, we want to talk about the difference between short-term and long-term missions, how the experience is different, and how to prepare for long-term missions if all you've done before is short-term missions. So that's what we've got today. Let's go. If this is your first time here, my name's Jonathan, my wife is Hannah, and we're missionaries living in Thailand, and we travel around Southeast Asia videoing mission projects. And so we kind of want to invite you to come with us on that journey of seeing the needs, seeing the joys of missions, the blessings, and the growth that is there as well. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, hit subscribe and join us on this journey. And I literally just said this between the house and the water tank, just because it's different.
Today we have the privilege of doing something that we don't do every day. It's something that neither of us particularly relish, although we managed to do it, and I'm going to get set up for that. But while I'm doing that, there's a really good question that was asked us, and I want to take some time to talk about that one. It says, what should a missionary expect when they're only used to short-term mission trips, not full-time? And what advice would you give to a student making this transition? There are some really big differences, and we want to look at that.
You know, I'd been on several short-term mission trips before I actually moved here to Thailand. And it was very different. Even when I came here for 5 months to work with a family, I knew I had a ticket out. And that was really what felt so different to me when I came to move here. Was I came on a one-way ticket and I didn't know when I would go back to America at all. I was just here. And that felt worlds different. So there's definitely a big difference between the practicalities of it, the impact it has, who it has an impact on, and what it feels like when you get there.
You're probably still wondering what it is that I'm setting up for. A clue. It involves cushions like that one over there and a whole bunch of blankets. Whew, that took a while. Yeah, we haven't exactly gotten this down to a science yet. But if you guessed that this was for recording audio, you are correct. We're actually going to be recording some voiceovers today. Now just to see if we can get in there and sit under there and record without the thing falling down on us. To our question though, it's a really good question, and the biggest difference that really strikes me between those two things is that when you go on a short-term mission trip, it's kind of like we're going to go there, we're going to do this, we're going to go do an evangelistic series, we're going to go do medical clinics, we're going to go build a church, and then we're going to go home. And it doesn't really impact your life in the same way because you know everything's short term. And also, there can be a lot of stuff inside that people never see. You can hide who you really are. It's not that hard.
I feel like short-term missions has a lot more to do with the people going, and it gives them a picture into a different, culture or country or language and stuff, and it can really, change people's perspective to kind of get them out of the bubble of America or wherever you happen to be. And it can, have a positive impact in that way, and realizing that, whoa, there's a lot of need in the world around us.
To contrast that though, if you're on a long-term mission service commitment, you are there, it's not just to do something, you're there living there. And really the focus then has to shift more to who you are, because it's not just one task and then it's done. It's day to day. It's everything you do.
I mean, obviously you come here, you go overseas to try and reach people. But really, it's kind of the fire that God throws you in so that you can grow, so that He can work in you to make you more like Him, because that's what God wants for us. The other thing that's different with long-term missions versus short-term missions, I just forgot. I remembered. When you come for 2 weeks, you can be a positive impact on people. You can be a blessing, but in a very short-term way. It's like when you go to church and you hear a really powerful sermon, and you're like, man, that preacher is really on fire, and that was such a blessing to me and an encouragement. It's like that versus living with that pastor or working with them, seeing them every single day, learning from them, experiencing, challenges with them, and seeing who they really are. And then you're like, whoa, this is the real deal. Like, they're tight with God, right? that's kind of the difference I see, is when you come for 2 weeks, you're just there and you're out. When you come and you live and you stay, the people can really see in a much deeper sense the contrast between their life and your life as a Christian.
But yeah, let's check out this little recording studio and see if the sound is dead enough. I think it should work. This room is pretty echoey, but pretty dead in there. Ought to work. And now comes the fun part. This is my setup. It consists of me sitting on one end of this thing and having a computer, sorry that's really bright, microphone, recorder thing here, and yeah, I talk to that and then you can't even see me. That is one warm recording room, but I think I'm done. You know, I would say one of the biggest pieces of advice I would give to someone who, like a student who wants to get into full-time mission service, is think of your life as in mission service now. You know, when you get into mission service, your reasons for doing things will get tested, and it's really easy to become uninterested in doing the things that you're there to do because it's hard. It's not easy to just be giving of yourself day in and day out, but God has promised the strength for us, and when we let Him come into our hearts and help clean out the selfishness, clean out the pride, clean out the things that are hindering us and working for Him, He will make it possible to do what we couldn't do before.
Random side note, our pumpkins have grown. I just love how they have these little twirly things that hang on to stuff and support the plant. I think that's so cool. This is, I don't know if this needs to be a segment or what, but this is the random news segment, apparently. Anyway, we also got this grow bed all sifted out, and hang on. There you go. That's literally the pile of stuff we took from over there. Like there's cement stuff in there we pulled out, broken tiles, glass, all sorts of stuff. But now it's looking not too bad, and well, this is a very weird angle. Hannah planted some onions. Pretty cool.
You know, there's a quotation that I love, and it says that sanctification consists in the cheerful performance of daily duties and perfect obedience to the will of God. What really struck me is that it's cheerful performance of daily duties. Like, that's the mundane, ordinary things, doing them cheerfully, happily, and yet that's really what missionary life consists of. It's not like a lot of those shorter term mission trips where it's just fun and exciting and new. It gets old, it gets boring, it's just the everyday stuff. But it's cheerfulness in doing that. And that's something that we can start working on wherever we are, no matter where we are, what we're doing. We can work on that and begin by being cheerful. The beautiful thing though is that when we really surrender things to God and let Him guide us in His timing, and we don't worry about how many good things am I doing for God. I mean, that's really actually a very works-focused mindset.
Doing good things in and of itself is not really what God wants. He wants us to do His will. And if you think about it, God said in Isaiah that His thoughts are as high as the heavens are above the earth. That's how high His thoughts are above our thoughts. So for us to think that we know what we should be doing and what good things we should be doing, it's all wrong. The focus should be on what does God want me to do? What is His plan? Because He's the one that knows.
If our focus is doing His will, then He leads us in His timing, and His timing is far better than anything we could ever dream of.
So to sort of just summarize what we've talked about, the difference between short-term missions and long-term missions. Short-term missions is more about what you go to do and how your experience affects you, whereas long-term missions would be more about who you are and how God uses who you are to impact people who don't know Him. And if you're planning to be a long-term missionary, if you are headed that direction, if you're about to launch or something, what I would say is just seek to deepen your relationship with God. And when you get His impressions throughout the day, just say yes to God. Say yes to God in the little things, say yes to God in the big things. And that will put you on the road to the most important thing in missions, which is following God. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was a blessing to you, and if it was, please consider sharing it with someone else who you think might be blessed by it as well. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to join us on this journey, hit subscribe. We'll see you next time. God bless.